Welcome back to the AI-powered marketing show, where we explore the intersection of artificial intelligence with cutting-edge digital marketing strategy. I'm your host, Keith Bell. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I was just reading an article from The Verge on April 15th about this new wearable technology called Limitless AI, or that's the company, I should say, Limitless AI. And what it is a pendant. I'm going to try to describe it as best I can for the people who listen to this podcast, but it kind of looks like two Apple AirTags wrapped in some sort of like a silicone or, rubber sleeve connected by almost like a loop type thing. And for the people that are watching the podcast, I'll put an image of it up in the corner during post. But I'm starting to see more and more of these wearable technologies come out. The Humane AI technology came out not too long ago. That had a much broader application. Whereas what I'm hearing from the article I'm reading and from the research that I've done on my own is that the Limitless AI technology is more limited to solving the problem of capturing meeting notes, impromptu, thoughts and messages. It's got a very limited use right now. And it's much cheaper. It's $99 during the pre-order phases. And I think it's like $19 a month. So, and I'm going to be reading from some articles that I have here on it and some of the research that I've done. But, we all know in the recent podcast episode I did where I talked about the partnership and brainstorming that was being done by Sam Altman from OpenAI and Johnny Ive, the former chief designer for Apple. Their product, they really haven't even gotten a product yet. They're just having casual conversations, brainstorming, trying to raise capital. So they don't even really have a idea yet, which, it's interesting how these platforms are going to work. I think the Ivy Altman combination, they're probably going to be looking at something that's going to replace the phone, but I don't know. I'd be purely speculating at this point. I don't know, but I thought this Limitless AI had some real potential. There was also some concerns I had about it, and we'll talk a little bit about them. But what I want to do is I'm going to switch over to the article that I was reading in The Verge. So this is from April 15th, and the headline is Limitless is a new AI tool for your meetings and an all-hearing wearable gadget. Now, that has caused some concern with people in terms of privacy because it's going to be listening all the time. But you'll see that they have addressed that with a mode called the consent mode, where you have to get consent from the other people that are in the meeting in order to utilize the audio. I mean, that said, there are people in this world, and I've talked about this many times. As a former police officer, as a former detective, I was certified in wiretapping in the state of Pennsylvania, which meant that I could intercept oral communications either by telephone or by electronic wire or by bugs from people with certain limitations and with a whole lot of paperwork and court orders and wiretap orders. And it was really involved. And every state's going to vary. Every state's going to be different in terms of what their particular laws are that apply to the interception of oral communications. All right, enough about that. But let's read a little bit more here. So the pendant doesn't exactly scream AI. And this is according to Dan, and God, I hope I don't butcher your name, Soroker, the CEO of the company behind this new device. He lifted it up and showed it at a Zoom meeting, and it's a rubbery looking gizmo, and it looked more like a old school clippable Fitbit. For you older folks, you'll remember what the Fitbit looked like, but this thing is very small, sleek, elegant. It really, they kept the design very, very simple. The Limitless Pendant is part of a whole Limitless system, which the company is launching today, and this was on the 15th, and it's very much a reference to the movie. Okay, if anybody remembers the movie with Bradley Cooper in it, where he took the Limitless pill and he went from being a writer who was suffering from writer's block to a genius in the financial world. And if you haven't watched that movie, please go back and watch it. It's an excellent, excellent movie. So, Sroker's last AI product, Rewind, was an app that ran on your computer and would record your screen and other data in order to help you remember everything. Every song, every tab, every meeting, everything you do on your computer. Okay. So when the company first teased the Limitless Pendant, it was actually called the Rewind Pendant. So Limitless has similar aims, but instead of just running on your computer, it is meant to collect data in the cloud and the real world too, and make it all available to you on any device. Rewind is still around for the folks who want to check it out, and you can check that out on your own. So this technology, and I'm going to pull up the research that I've done here. So the pendant right now is in pre-order. It's $99, and it will act as your personal AI assistant. Its focus is on enhancing meeting and conversations. Now, unlike other AI wearables like the Humane AI Pin that try to replace your smartphone, the Limitless Pendant has a more specific use case, and they list some of the features here. So it clips onto your clothing, or can be worn like on a necklace or a pendant. It has a magnetic clasp. It records conversations and uses AI to transcribe them for later reference. So, if you're in a meeting and if you're horrible at taking notes, this would be a great tool to have. I could see it as a great tool for the student that struggles with taking notes in, like, I really had a hard time taking notes in my biology lab in college. I think there was like 250 people in my biology lab. So taking notes was a bit of a challenge. But again, I think that, you have your smartphone, you can do the same thing. But some professors didn't like us recording stuff. We just happened to have a professor in this class that was okay with it. He didn't have a problem with it. Analyze discussions to suggest actionable to-do items. So if you have a meeting, let's say it's a 15-minute short meeting with your boss, and there's item A, item B, item C, item D that are discussed. This will analyze that discussion and give you some suggestions as to some action items that you can take. It's got a 100-hour battery life, Wi-Fi and Bluetooth compatible or connectivity, waterproof, and has USB-C charging, which I believe is the same charger that I use for my Mac. Integrates with Zoom, Google Meet, Slack, and other conferencing tools. So you can use it to integrate if you're in a Zoom meeting. And I can see where that's probably one of the best applications for it. Now, there is an app, I believe it's called Sesh. No, Sesh, I think, is the one that does you can set up the meeting agenda. But I know there's an app in there where you can actually create a transcript of the meeting. This will do the same thing, just with the little pendant. Has a consent mode, only records voices that have granted permission. Unlimited cloud storage, data is encrypted and atomized. Comes in 8 colors: black, green, pink, etc. Shipping begins in August of 2024, currently available for pre-order. So if you're interested in this, you can head over to the Limitless AI website. You can pre-order. I think I might get one. They look like they could be a nice addition to my AI toolkit, and I'll explain a little bit more why when we get to another section here. So there are some potential privacy concerns around an always-on recording device, and we talked a little bit about that. The interception of oral communications is a felony in most states. I know that, some states have laxer rules and some have stricter rules, one-party consent versus two-party consent. I'm not going to get into a whole legal discussion about, wiretapping and the interception of oral communications, but that is something that has raised, some red flags with some people in the privacy realm. So overall, the Limitless Pendant appears to be a more practical and focused product. And I think the idea that the CEO, his focus was, let's solve one problem and then we'll expand its capabilities as time goes on. So how does it compare to other wearables? The only one that's really out right now is the Humane AI Pen, or Humane AI Pin. It is more lightweight and discreet. If you've seen the Humane Pin, it's this big, clunky, square thing. Clearly, it's you know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of in the movies, where they had the radiation detectors. I'll try to find an image of a radiation detector and this AI pendant. And it kind of reminds me of that radiation detector that would go off when you're working in a nuclear facility. I've only seen them in movies. I've never been in a nuclear facility. So 100-hour battery life, integrates with popular conferencing and productivity tools, automatically transcribes, has consent mode, faces potential issues around legality and social acceptability. Okay, that's another thing. There's going to be people that, especially people my age and older. I'm 60 years old. I can see the person that's like 70 or 80 years old saying, there is no effing way you are recording my voice. Privacy is so important to them, and they're not going to understand the technology, and they're probably going to say things like, why the hell do you need a device to record what you say? Can't you remember what you said? You all have that, older grandmother, grandfather that may react that way. Handling multi-person conversations and background noise. Okay. And that's something I deal with on this podcast, is background noise. But thank God for Podcastle AI, because it takes a lot of it out. Has a lack of a broader smartphone-like capability. So the Humane Pin has more smartphone capabilities, whereas this is very focused. Its use is very focused and limited to the things that we've discussed here already. So in contrast, recent smartwatches like the Apple Watch Ultra and Garmin Epix Pro focus more on fitness and sports tracking. So it's going to be interesting. And again, I go back to the partnership with Johnny Ivey and Sam Altman and what they're going to come up with. I mean, that's going to be really, really interesting to follow and watch. So just to finish up here, whenever I do one of these episodes, I always like to show, how, as a digital marketer, how can you benefit from this Limitless AI Pendant? And here's some of the stuff that I came up with. So the pendant can automatically transcribe meetings. Okay, we know that. Impromptu conversations and ideas can be captured without the need for manual note-taking. So let's say, you're you're on a business trip where you're driving in the car, and all of a sudden there's a conversation that takes place about how to increase productivity in Division A. You and the person that are in the car can, quickly record some of your thoughts, because I find that some of my best thoughts come in the weirdest places, and I'm not going to discuss some of those weird places, but you can imagine. But, being able to record those conversations, definitely could be beneficial to you, because you'd say, man, what was I talking to John about? I can't remember now. We've all had those conversations. And especially as I get older, I find that I forget things a little bit more. Gathering voices of customer insights. So you can be talking to a customer and say, hey, would you mind if I recorded this and do the consent, and get some feedback from your customer, valuable stuff, rather than trying to take written notes, which to me, I mean, that's a great thing to do, but you don't get that same feel when you have a recorded conversation. You don't get the emotional context of the meeting. So that definitely is a definite plus. Enhanced webinars and live events. Okay. We're independent during a presentation allows the content to be transcribed, repurposed into blog posts. Okay. So one of my favorite words, repurposing, social media and snippets, etc. Quote cards. Audience questions and feedbacks can automatically be documented for follow-up. So if you're doing let's say you're doing a coaching call with, 10 people that are in like your high ticket coaching call, as long as they all consent to it, you can transcribe that meeting, so you can go back and say, okay, what did Mary Jones have to say about this particular aspect of, our coaching program, etc. Sales and customer service teams can record calls to analyze what language and techniques work best. Again, I go back to, it's going to be really, really important that people have not only the consent aspect of the device turned on, but they're also going to have some protocols in place as a business, because the last thing you want to do is be arrested for violating the Wiretap Act. Like I said, it is a felony. Transcripts can be used for training, capturing spur-of-the-moment marketing ideas. This is what, I wanted to talk more about. Have you ever been driving in your car to the grocery store and boom, an idea pops in your head? Well, what better way than to, tap your Limitless AI Pendant, record your thoughts on that. I find that some of my best thoughts come early in the morning when I'm driving to work, and they come and they go. So great way to capture some of those spur of the moment marketing ideas. And to say it can summarize and organize these notes for later brainstorming. So then I can take those ideas and go into ChatGPT or one of the GPTs that I created and create a list or a brainstorming list that I can work on further. So really interesting. There's a lot of use cases for it, a lot of applications for it, but it's yet to be determined. So hope you got value out of this episode today. If you did, follow the podcast. I'm on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Head on over to the Funnelosophy YouTube channel. Funnelosophy Media Group is the parent company that I use to run all of my different businesses. And smash that subscribe button, hit that notification bell. You can also check out the Funnelosophy website, sign up for the AI-powered marketer newsletter. That is done. I got the welcome newsletter done, so you'll get to see that right away. And I have a little added bonus in there if you opt in right away. So as always, make sure you keep innovating and iterating, and you too will succeed. Take care. Have a great day.